Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 9 of my Dress Up Darling. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So it seems like at this point, the next step is just Gojo needs to make the new costume. And considering he's already done one before, and this one is presumably... oh boy. Presumably less complex, it should be easier to do, but... wow. Marin just has to flash him like that, holy cow. Man, you didn't respond to the picture, so she has to show you in real life. Yikes, dude. Man, good choice on her part for getting a high-waisted swimsuit. Poor Gojo. She's just gonna tease him now, isn't she? Boy, she's really pushing it. Oh boy, the age-old struggle. So it looks like Marin's taking a bit more of an active role in helping out here. Seems like the little thing there is the gem. So I guess that's sort of like the magical girl's corrupted soul gem, or whatever you'd call it. Oh, it looks pretty neat. So I'd imagine they put like some sort of glossy finish paint over it to darken it, but still make it look all reflective and lustrous. Oh boy. Man, I find it funny that she's the one who's really interested in him, but she doesn't really care about undressing until it gets down to it. So I like how things have gone from that rather tense scenario to everyone having tried on their costumes and being absolutely in love with it. And I like how they sort of sidestepped the sexual tension that had been developing. Seems that, per usual with Gojo's work, it's basically perfect except for minor alterations. You know, just looking at the costume, it does seem like it's considerably less complex than the first one he did, which I suppose is good for him. And he doesn't really seem to have the big deadline he did before, so he didn't have to rush it either. He could really take his time and make a good outfit. I like how Marin is also kind of jealous too of Juju, but it seems to be more a function of her lack of experience rather than anything else. She wants to appear knowledgeable in front of her idol. Oh boy. So Juju's sort of dropping the hammer again, you know. You don't have enough makeup to properly cosplay all this stuff. You need different shades of foundation and all that. I mean, it kind of makes sense, you know, modifying your skin tone to better suit the wig. I mean, maybe it's a function of me having never used makeup, but it seems like a lot of effort to go to. Man, I don't know, but that just doesn't look very comfortable at all to tape your eyes like that. Oh boy, it seems like the mark of an amateur actually shaving off her eyebrows. Man, I was gonna say that it almost feels like an indictment of our modern times, where when Marin says, "Give me a mirror," it seemed as though she was handed a phone, but no, it is an actual mirror, it just sort of looked like her phone case. Man, that makes me feel like such a zoomer automatically assuming it was a phone. Ah, darn. Wouldn't that just be everyone's luck? It's the day you take the shoot, it happens to be raining and ruining any hope of getting natural light. Of course, you know, one would think, given the sort of gloomy nature of the shoot, muted natural light wouldn't be that bad, but, you know, far be it from me. I'm no photographer, after all. So it seems like Juju's sort of warming up to everyone, you know, she actually deigned to take a picture with Marin rather than just sort of rebuff her. And she's actually making conversation, too. You know, she really didn't seem like the type to have done something like that. Now, I'm noticing, I think the animators are saving on budget here a little bit. They're just sort of showing these slow panning shots of the hospital rather than animating the people talking. You know, I don't mind cost-cutting measures all that much, but I just couldn't help but notice it. Ooh, it seems like we have a little intrigue going on here with the flashback. Ooh, I wonder what's going on. Man, I feel like this whole thing was a bit of an overreaction, but Man, Gojo just doesn't understand. Like, he kind of caused that whole episode, even though it wasn't really his fault, and he's just sort of being friendly, which only worsens things. Okay, I think I'm getting an idea of what's going on here. Seems like Shinju, Juju's sister, and Gojo are getting up to something sneaky and underhanded. The interesting thing here is that it's Gojo who's sticking his nose in here. You know, he seems to have got it in his head that Shinju really wants to cosplay, but she doesn't want to admit it in front of her sister because she's too shy. To his credit, he hit the nail right on the head. Alright, so this sort of goes back to the whole I'm not a good fit for the character, so I can't cosplay thing. It's an interesting perspective, and I don't know, I feel like there are ways to get around not looking exactly like a character. You know, if nothing else, you can wear wigs and stuff like that, but it seems like Shinju really just doesn't have the personality to sort of get over that on her own. Oh, Gojo, you saint. And you know what? He's right. You know, she is kind of overthinking things. You know, he's willing to help, and her sisters certainly wouldn't shit on her. Oh, what a coincidence. Another character from the same series. Ooh, interesting. So she wants to cosplay the brother of one of the characters. So, I think I see the problem here. Considering how well endowed she is, I think that in and of itself would be a nigh insurmountable challenge. I mean, there might be ways to get around it using, like, forced perspective or something like that. I don't know, photography tricks. But I don't know, maybe if you wear like a really loose shirt? Yeah, Gojo's got his work cut out for him in this case. Oh dear. So Gojo's doing this for somebody with a difficult body type, and also someone who's a middle schooler, so she can't really pay. Ooh boy, Gojo, looks like you're doing this one pro bono. But to his credit, he's willing to do it out of the goodness of his heart. What a nice guy. Alright, so Gojo's doing this on the cheap, and he's got a pretty good idea here, you know. His school uniform in real life, you know, quote-unquote, looks a lot like the school uniform the characters wear, so, you know, why not reuse it? So I guess things sort of work out in a weird sort of way because she happens to be tall enough for things to kind of line up. Unfortunately, the diameter, so to speak, is a bit too large for the shirt. Oh boy. You know, it seems to me that that's a considerable feat to snap a button off like that. You know, I don't think that's, like, quite realistic. Like, I've had buttons fall off of, like, the cuffs of shirts, but they've never, like, shot off like that. Okay. So I guess Gojo's idea here is to sort of, wrap and constrict things with a kimono accessory. The idea being if you can sort of, like, straighten out the body shape, you know, fill in the hourglass, it will lend itself to the illusion of looking more masculine. Wow. You know, that wrap is squishing a lot of stuff. I don't know how well it's gonna work. I mean, it seems to work pretty well with the shirt actually on, but boy, that one image. Okay, so it seems like Gojo has like a decent understanding of anatomy here, so he's sort of going to broaden the shoulders and I guess peruse advice from other cosplayers. That's interesting. You know, it really makes sense. You know, ask the people who know the solution to the problem, so that way you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, I'm wondering how exactly this lines up with the rest of the previous episode, just because it seems like he's spending a fair bit of time helping out Shinji with this costume. Man, Gojo really is a man of many talents, if he's going to cut a wig. Man, this really is an exercise in expectations versus reality. You know, Shinju's watching him and saying he's not hesitating to cut a wig at all, even though he's never done it before. But he is hesitating. You know, he's expressing nervousness, but he's not panicking. So I guess in that sense, he's displaying a positive role model. You know, that's interesting, because Shinju sort of views him as this hyper-talented person. How could he possibly ever be insecure? But, you know, that's not true at all. Gojo is by and large flying by the seat of his pants. I also find it interesting that this whole positive role model thing goes one degree further in that Gojo views Marin as a similar sort of role model. Oh, the poor guy's getting flustered. He didn't mean to call her cute. Whoops. I think Gojo makes a good point. Even someone who's seemingly competent must certainly have things they worry and feel insecure about. It doesn't matter how competent you are, you're never so competent that nothing is an issue. And it seems like when he really puts his mind to it, Gojo's a pretty, thrifty shopper for cosplay. So I guess now we get the grand reveal. Gojo did a good job. There we go. That's what you love to see. She thought everyone would at best be indifferent, but everyone is amazed. This really is the best outcome. She has earned the admiration of her big sister. And I like how Marin is most interested in exactly what happened to her massive knockers. I guess it is notable considering how jealous she seemed to be. Man, I feel like Juju really got the best end of this deal. People went in part for the studio time, and she also developed a relationship with her sister and made a new friend. Good things all around. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.